Yeah, so now, yeah, then see the sequence was we defined all those different definitions like project, program, sub-project, portfolio management, project selection methods like NPV, BZR, payback period, all those things we discussed. And then we got into project initiation. The first step in initiation was create project charter, and the second step is identify stakeholders. Then during project chartering, a project manager is appointed, and he took the project into planning. And the first step in planning was develop project management plan. Second step was collect detailed requirements. Third step was define scope. And the fourth process is define work breakdown structure. So if you really look at work breakdown structure, did we discuss this in the last class? WBS? I think we have not. Did we? Okay. That's fine. So we'll come back to this slide. Now if you really look at the input side of it, we have the project scope statement coming as an input, requirements documentation coming as an input, and then organization process assets. That means your organization will have a lot of like procedures, templates, tools, lessons learned from past projects. So everything can come in as a can be included in the organizational process asset. And the tools and techniques is decomposition, output is a work breakdown structure, and then there is something called WBS dictionary, which we'll discuss later. Then a scope baseline and a project document updates. So this is the scheme of things. Now this is an example. This slide is an example of a work breakdown structure. So if you really look at this, see we have, this is about creation of a company website, and then comes, you decompose that into compartments like planning and design, development, testing, and here it was project management. Then you decompose that further into identify a website designer. For that, I have to make a statement of work, then request for proposals, get the proposal, and then sign the contract. So this is a typical example of a work breakdown structure. And the key thing about work breakdown structure is it doesn't give you any sequence of events. It doesn't give you any timelines. It just gives you the breakup of work. Because here if you see identify website designer, for that first thing I should do is preparation of statement of work. And against that only I can request for proposals. Then I get the proposals. Yep. So it is not shown in any sequence. You just break up the work. That's all. So there need not be any particular sequence. And the lowest level in a WBS is known as a work package. It's known as a work package. Okay. So here. This is not a work package actually, whereas the lowest level, this is a work package, 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 this is not a work package, this is not a work package. So this intermediate stuff is not a work package. The lowest level is the work package. And while doing the WBS, always we will be in a dilemma on at what level we should stop breaking it. Because if you break it to the lowest level, then it will become activities. So that will be too much actually. So PMI has given us a guideline like work packages should be between 8 hours and 80 hours. That means for a small project, I'll break it to a level where the lowest level is between 8 hours and 80 hours chunks of work. Okay, that means if for a small project, I'll break it to a level of 8 hours, and for large projects, it may be towards that 80-hour kind of thing. So when I say I decompose the work package is towards 8 hours, means at least once in a day you will go and see the status of it. At least once in a day you will go and see the status of it. Okay, so that is the idea. But then for a large project, if you go to 8-hour kind of thing, then it will be micromanagement, because I'm constructing as I told you, my house construction is going on. Now the question is, okay, should I go there and supervise it every day, or can I do once in a week? There's no point in going there every day because things might not have moved. So if I go there once in 3 days or 4 days, it's fine. Because so for a large project, okay, your work packages can be towards 80 hours. For a small project, it can be towards 8 hours, not less than 8, because you will end up doing micromanagement. So that is 880 rule. Do you have any questions on this 880 rule? Is it clear? You must key in your answer. $880 rule, work packages. Yeah, 1 minute. Yeah, so that's fine. So yeah, starting from this WBS, we'll be getting around 45 questions. So this is very important. And without doing a WBS, your estimation accuracy levels will not be good. Unless and until you do a WBS, you will not get a very accurate estimate. So before committing anything to anybody, you must do a WBS. Then estimate at the work package level, the lowest level, which will be more accurate. Because unless you do that, you will not get an accurate estimate. So if you don't have questions, I think let us proceed. Okay, so that's fine. So here, now let's go back to this particular slide. This was the first slide. So now please go through this slide. If anything needs a discussion, we can discuss. Okay, so it is a deliverable-oriented grouping of work. And organizes and defines the total scope of the project. So whatever is there in your scope statement, it should be there in your WBS also. There should be one-to-one mapping between your WBS and your scope statement. Otherwise, when you do the scheduling and when you complete the product, those things may not be there. It breaks the project into smaller and more manageable pieces, and it is linked to the project strategy, and it is based on divide and rule. When we say link to the project strategy, means while doing the WBS, sometimes you decide on what all things you should be doing, what all things should be subcon. Now once you do this, then you can decide where and all you have expertise, where and all you don't have expertise, and those things where you don't have expertise, you can outsource. Things where you have expertise, you can do it yourself. Wherever you want to use reusable components or open source components, you can decide on it. So the moment you do a WBS, then slowly the project execution strategy also will evolve from the WBS. Sometimes you may have to partner with another organization to finish off certain things because you don't have expertise. So all these things will happen once the WBS is done. Because without doing a this is the again you may get questions, and in real life also it is very true. See, when do project fail? Do the project fail at the beginning or during execution or at the end? Projects fail at the beginning most of the time. Okay, because if your estimates are wrong, you had it. And in classroom training, normally we ask a question like, if you want to organize a party for 10 people at your home, and it should be homemade food, you cannot order food from outside. What is the effort you need? Generally, I get answers like, oh, it will take 3 hours kind of thing. But then you make them do the WBS, then they are in trouble. We start with generally the illusion is it will take only 2-3 hours, but then the moment you do a WBS, what happens is, okay, now you have this this is party for some people, 10 people. The first thing would be menu. You have to decide on the menu. Then you have to create the shopping list. Then you have to do the shopping. Then pre-cooking activities. Okay, then only the cooking starts. And cooking, again, you may have to decompose that further into the starters, the main course, and the desserts maybe. Right? Then since 10 are coming to your house, some housekeeping you will have to do. And then only the party starts, and party itself will go on for a couple of hours. So then party happens. Then after the party comes after party cleaning again. So now if you estimate each of these boxes, it will be at least 3 to 4 times more than the 3 hours. It will take 10 hours. But then for the project you will have to estimate all these things. If you want to set up a test lab, okay, you need time for it. You want to conduct a training program for your team, you need time and money for it. You want to go for a team outing, you need budget for it. Project reviews, weekly it's happening, okay, time for it. Goal setting, you need time for it. Recruitment, interview times and appointment, all those things, okay, it needs time. Appointing a subcontractor, you have to prepare the statement of work, bidders conferences, screening criteria, all those things. Then get the proposals, evaluate the proposal, a lot of effort. So you cannot just consider coding effort alone and then manage a project. You'll have to do a WBS. So without doing a WBS, you'll miss out a lot of things. And once your estimates are wrong, and if you start a project, there is no recovery from it. So in real life also, this is very, very important. So don't skip this step. Generally, people skip this step, and when they start a project, the first thing they do is they'll straight away come and sit in front of the MS project tool and then start entering activities. And I'm sure that, or it may be a cut and paste from some other project, and you miss out a lot of vital things. And that is the starting point of all unprofessionalism in project management. Okay, so and while doing this now, in starters itself, again I'll be in a dilemma. Should I decompose it further, one more level? Should I decompose? And if I do that, towards the end I'll come out with activities. So this dilemma always you will have when you do a WBS. That's where PMI has given us a 880 rule. So that means the work packages, this lowest level, it should not be less than 8 hours. It should be around 8 hours, even for a small project. The idea is at least once in a day you'll go and see the status of it. Don't break it further. Breaking of that further will happen while preparing the schedule. So this is an intermediate step before your scope and schedule. From the scope you create a WBS, and from the WBS you derive the schedule. And WBS doesn't give you any timelines. WBS will give you only, it doesn't show you any timelines. It will give you only the breakup of work that is involved. It doesn't give you any sequence. That is very, very critical. And the lowest level we call as a work package. The lowest level in a WBS we call it as a work package. And let me give you a surprise. As a project manager, we will never track a project at activity level. We will stop exercising control at a work package level. Otherwise, you'll become very inefficient. So if you do get into micromanagement at activity level, then you can become very, very inefficient. Because, one minute. If you take if you are in a project again, so now let's say this is a small project, a 6 months project, and a 6 months project approximately it will have how many work packages? When I say 6 months project, 6 months, there's a 10 persons are working on it, and per month it is 20 days. So we are talking about 120 into 10, 1,200 work packages. This is a small project. A 10-member team working for 6 months itself will be around 1,600 work packages, 1,200 work packages. Now, if you break it down into activities, let us assume that if every work package is approximately, let's say, 5 activities, then if you are a project manager who's tracking at an activity level, then we are talking about 6,000 activities tracking. And all you have is 6 into 20. 6 into 20 is 120 days to track this to closure. So per day, how many you'll track? Per day, you'll be tracking around 50 activities to closure. Oh, this is not feasible. This is the sure prescription to become inefficient. And nobody, every 10 minutes you'll go and every 10 minutes you go and ask for status of work. So people will hate you for that actually. So this is a mathematically I'm explaining to you, because if you are a project manager who tracks at an activity level, that is a sure prescription to be hated by your team. Because nobody likes to be asked, what is the status, and all. If you ask every now and then, you are in trouble. Okay, so that's the idea. So I hope you got a hang of it. So let's go back to the slide. So WBS, I hope you have understood it. And once the WBS is done, then that is the basis for your subsequent thing. Like you do your cost estimation based on the WBS, cost budgeting, resource planning, risk management planning, activity definition. Everything revolves around this WBS. So that's why once you baseline the scope control becomes very critical, because based on the agreed upon scope only you create the WBS, and after that if the scope changes it will have a reflection on the WBS as well. So once the scope is defined, it has to be really managed through the change control boards and all those things. Otherwise your estimates will go for a toss, your schedules will go for a toss. So once the scope is baselined, it has to be controlled. Then comes work pack. We already discussed this. Work packages are the lowest level in a WBS is the work package, and the smallest level a project manager will manage. The lowest level in a WBS is the work package, and that is the smallest level. Now let's say this is level 1, this is level 2, this whole thing, and this is level 3, and this is level 4. So the lowest level, this is also level 4, this is also level 4. The lowest level, there's a level 4 here. The smallest level a PM will manage. Intermediate things and all project manager will not manage. Or lower things below this, the activities and all project manager will not manage. This is an example of an operating system rollout work package, WBS, and technology project WBS. It's okay. And yeah, this slide you can just go through from the material. You will understand what it is. Please go through this slide, and if you have any questions, please ask. Okay, so if this is fine, let's proceed. 880 rule, we already discussed. A guideline suggesting that work packages should require more than 8 and fewer than 80 hours of effort to complete. One key thing here is, okay, now whatever terminologies you are hearing for the first time, you will get questions. So any jargon or any terminology which you are hearing for the first time, please immediately take note of it, because you will get questions. You will get several questions on this 880 rule. Milestones or major accomplishments in a project do not have any duration. When all the pertaining activities are completed, a milestone is completed. So if you take consider our PMP preparation as a project, what all could be the milestones? Maybe 35 contact hours could be a milestone. So when you complete the training, you will get 35 contact hours. That's a milestone. Application approval could be a milestone. Completion of self-study could be a milestone. Writing the exam could be a milestone. So the major events in a project is a milestone. A milestone per se doesn't consume any resources. And yeah, now there's a concept called WBS dictionary. Now let's say you're a project manager for constructing a 100-floor building, and you are sitting in UK and the work is happening in Dubai, let's say, and you want to instruct somebody like, okay, go and paint this particular room. Now, what all things you should tell him? You should tell him things like which floor, which room, which wall, what color of paint, how many coats of paint, what should be the room temperature, all those things you'll have to tell him. Otherwise that person will get it wrong. Okay, so because you're not on the site, you're not on site, you are sitting somewhere else, and if you want to ask somebody to paint a wall of a room in that building, you'll have to tell him like which floor, which room, which wall, how many coats of paint, what color, what should be the room temperature, Before painting, check whether the plumbers have completed their work. Before starting painting, please check whether carpeting guys have done their work. In case carpeting is already done, then you take some precautionary measures. So all these things you'll have to explain. Otherwise, that person will get it all wrong. So that is accomplished through a WBS, a work breakdown structure. Sorry, a WBS dictionary. It will have a narration, statement of work, who is responsible for doing it, quality requirements, interdependencies before and after, assumptions, technical references if any, all these things. Now we are talking about a code of account identifier. So a typical code of account identifier is, okay, now in any WBS, 1 minute. Now if this is a WBS, now let's say okay, we have so it's not coming. So here, 1 minute. So now let's say here we have other sub work packages, and it goes like this. Okay, this is decomposed further into subsequent things. Now in this case, now let's say this is a 1.0. This can be a 1.1. So this could be a 1.1.1, and this could be 1.1.2, and this could be again 1.1.3 kind of thing. So this numbering scheme will help me to tell to which work pack, the hierarchy actually. By looking at this, I know that this is the parent of this is 1.1. By looking at this, I know that the parent of this is 1.0. So a kind of a numbering scheme. We call it as a code of account identifier. That means when we, if a budget for this is, let's say 500, 1.1.1 is, let's say $500. When I make a payment of $200 against this particular work package 1.1.1 in my financial accounting system, it may have an entry like the GL is the account 1.0, that is the project name, and the subsidiary ledger will read like 1.1.1, an amount I paid 100, maybe debit. So always your financial in big projects, okay, always the project management system is linked to the financial accounting system, because otherwise if somebody asks for a planned versus actual budget at a work package level for a project which has 6,000 work packages, you'll be in trouble. So if you really want to track plan versus actuals at a work package level, you need to link your project management system to the financial accounting system. In IT projects, it may be linked between project management system to the time accounting system. In all other forms of projects, there will be a tight coupling between the project management system and the project management system and the financial accounting system. Okay, so So this is the code of account identifier. Okay, so I think, yeah. Yeah, the class is getting recorded, and do you have any problem with the voice or something? Okay. Because these things are very, very critical, because, and here you will get around 45% of your questions will be from these, starting from WBS, you'll get a lot of questions. And in real life also, these things are very critical. Code of accounts and planning component. So while doing the WBS and then the estimation of the project, sometimes for some work packages you will not have enough information. Now let's say this part, okay, you could estimate. 1 minute. Yeah, so let's assume that, okay, this is okay, this you could estimate, this you could estimate, this you could estimate, this also you could estimate, this is fine, this is fine. Now here, let's say this has the delivery date of the project is 2013, let's say, and this involves let's say 200 licenses of Oracle, and the contractual clause says that when you deliver the solution, it should be based on then existing version of Oracle. Even Oracle Corporation may not have the price. Yeah, so how will you estimate now? So you'll have to make some assumptions, like you take the price of the current version and then put a delta X on top of it and then quote. But then these are all based on assumptions actually. These are all assumptions. So yeah. So those work packages, so this we call it as a control account, or a budgetary account. Now let's say based on some guesstimate, because I don't have actual information, I don't have back-to-back purchase order with Oracle or the vendor. In that case, okay, I'll have to estimate it myself based on the current pricing of the present version. I'm making a lot of assumptions and I'm taking some risk. So that is known as a control account. So I'm operating it through a control account. And the piece of work which is done through a control account, that is known as a planning component. So it can be a work package, it can be a group of work packages, or it could be just a part of a work package. So that piece of work which is operated through a provisional account or a control account is known as a planning component or a planning package, and the budget for that is known as a control account or the yeah, or the budget or the provisional account or the control account. You may get 1 or 2 questions on this. This is fine. So as an assignment, maybe you can try a WBS for your PMP certification project. So it will look like identify a trainer, attend the training, self-study, apply, filling up the application, submission of the application processing, scheduling the exam, writing the exam. So all these things will come into your WBS. And this is if you can recollect, the input side, the tools and techniques, and the outputs, it will be great. So if you go back to that particular slide, yeah, so these were the inputs. Project scope statement was an input. Requirements documentation is an input. Organizational process asset is also an input. The tool and technique is decomposition, and the output is work breakdown structure, WBS dictionary, scope baseline, and project document updates. Because when you say project document updates, see, while doing the WBS, sometimes you'll go and update the scope. Or while doing the WBS, sometimes you'll go back and update the charter even, because based on the WBS, if the cost is higher or lesser than anticipated, then you will have to update your charter even. Or while doing the WBS, sometimes there can be scope reduction or there could be scope expansion. In that case also you'll have to update your scope statement. There are different forms of breakdown structures like organizational breakdown structure, resource breakdown structure, bill of material. It's all fine. 880 rule, milestones, WBS dictionary, we discussed all these things. So fine, so with this we have completed not planning, just the WBS part of it. Yeah, so the next is let's go get into planning 2. So once the WBS is done, then straight away you get into planning. And now you get into defining the activities. That means those work packages are decomposed further into activities. So again, the input side, if you see, you have the scope baseline, enterprise environmental factors, and organizational process assets. So here one key thing is here one key thing would be on the input side, if you see, there is something called scope baseline. Now what happened to the WBS? See, WBS is part of the scope actually. So you do the scope document, which is narrative in form, and along with that you attach the WBS, so that becomes the scope baseline. So WBS is part of the scope. That's why it is not shown separately. And then enterprise environmental factors, organizational process assets, tools and techniques, rolling wave planning and all we'll be discussing as we go along. Then activity output is the activity list, activity attributes, and milestone list. So once the work package is done, you decompose that further into these things, and then this and all you can understand by yourself. There's something called rolling wave planning or moving window planning. That means, okay, if I'm planning for a very large project which runs for a couple of years, and if I attempt end-to-end schedule, let's say I want to create a schedule from this point to this point, you can create it, but then a lot of things will change as the project executes. So that's a problem. So for that, what you can do is break the project into smaller pieces. 30-day cycles, and for every cycle you now let's say we are in the first 30 days. So here you will have fully blown activity level schedule, and maybe next level also you'll have maybe activity level schedule, and things falling far away. This is first 30 days, this is next 30 days. Here and all you may have only the milestones defined. Yep, so a schedule can exist at various levels. So what we are saying is the immediate window where the work is happening, you will go ahead with the activity level schedule, and things falling far away, it can be at a milestone level. So a schedule can exist at various levels. That is rolling wave planning. The idea is where there is action, you have complete visibility, and things that is going to happen in the future will be only at a high level visibility. So a schedule can exist at the various levels. It need not be that always it should be complete at the activity level from start to end. So wherever there is action, immediate, current month and next month, we may have activity level schedules. Things falling beyond that can exist at a milestone level, and that is the backbone of all this rolling wave planning or a moving window planning. And this is all these agile projects are built on this actually. If you take Scrum or extreme programming and all, they have a roadmap, and for the current iteration they have a fully blown activity level details, and things falling beyond that, it will be only at a very higher level, roadmaps kind of thing. So yeah. Okay, so this slide will explain it further. Rolling wave planning, it is also known as progressive elaboration planning, because we don't know for the exam what will be the terminology they are using. I'm not very sure, so they may use all these terminologies intermittently. So work to be accomplished in the near future, in the near term, more detailed. Work to be accomplished far in the future, high level. Schedule activities can access at various levels. During early strategic planning and all, you do only at a milestone level. Then once the activities are defined, the next step is sequencing them based on the dependencies. Now slowly we are getting into the schedule preparation. I think we'll stop at this stage because this is very critical, and we'll start afresh with this activity sequencing maybe in tomorrow's session. Okay, in the meantime, if you have any questions, let us discuss that. 1 minute, I must unmute you because I've muted you all. Yeah, so this is fine, so I'll stop recording now.